In this webinar series, we will be exploring the new features and application design changes implemented in our latest version of Operator 10 in Synexus. In this first session, we'll cover the best practices for updating your software and compare the previous version to the new 11.24 version. In addition, we will cover some of the innovative design changes and features that make the new Operator 10 in Synexus more powerful and faster than the previous version. So the first thing I want to go ahead and look at is we have a comparison video here of some of the changes between version 10.23, which a lot of you updated from or will be updating from, and the new version. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. That way you can see some of the visual changes and also see some of the new design features we've implemented. You'll notice that we've really redesigned our file menu so you can find your application information and program data information in one single page now, and you'll be able to access that information more quickly, and you'll also be able to see more information. So we'll be looking at that when we go into our new version 11.24 of Operator 10, and these changes will also apply to Synexus as well. Another thing to keep in mind is that we've created new icons across our application ribbons. We've wanted to create a consistent experience throughout all of our programs. We've also created application-specific visual collars to represent our different software programs. So whether you're using Operator 10, wastewater, water, or Synexus, you'll know that the collar design of your application ribbon will change based on the program you're using. We've also implemented some really great new design features in the program. So what it does is it allows you to quickly create your data inside version 11.24. An example of that you'll see here when creating a new data view. Instead of being greeted by the old properties window on the left, you'll now be greeted by your location parameter window, where you'll be able to quickly define what kind of data view display type you're going to be using, as well as go ahead and just pick your location parameters, and then it will create your data view, and you can later go in and modify the properties. So the ideal is to make the program quicker and allow you to review your data in a more efficient fashion. We've also implemented this quick create feature in our setup tab. So when you create new locations, parameters inside the program, you'll be greeted with a whole new add new location parameter window you can see here on the right. And that's going to allow you not only to create multiple parameters for a single location, but it'll also allow you to copy over parameters from an existing location. So it'll make the process of setting up your data so much faster. We've also completely re-engineered our report center in version 11.24. In 10.23, you can see that in the left side of your screen. We've really wanted to sort of unify the program and make it more of a graphically rich environment for our customers to easily create report sets and be able to organize your reports based on whatever reporting criteria is required. We've also implemented a new charting section inside version 11.24. We've really re-engineered this from the ground up. So now you'll have the ability inside charts to make numerous modifications and to change the properties of your charts to create a multitude of graphs that will allow you to quickly review your data and be able to review a variety of data in a much faster and more efficient way. And then also you'll see in the charting section we've redesigned the properties menu. So instead of the previous version where you would have two separate menu windows when you're selecting your chart properties, we've now integrated all of that into a newly designed properties window for our graphing section. Okay, so that's going to conclude our comparison video. I want to go ahead and, since this is our first webinar, I know most of you may have already updated, but for many of you, you may not have updated yet. So I want to go ahead and walk you through the update process just to give you a quick preview of the best practice to updating your software. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and we're going to go back into 10.23, which is the previous version, our last release of Operator 10 and Synexus prior to our newly redesigned version 11.24. The first thing you're going to want to do in your old program before you update to the new program is you're going to want to go ahead and go to your Tools tab and access your application ribbon, and you're going to want to make a backup of your data. You'll notice there's a backup icon right here. You can click that. It's going to allow you to designate a safe place to save that backup, and you're going to want to go ahead and do that. So just go ahead and select a location where you can save your backup, and then click Save, and then the program will go ahead and begin that backup process for us. Another thing that you can do when you get ready to update is you can go to the Support tab inside 10.23, and you can select the Check for Update icon right here. When you do that, what the program's going to do is it's going to go ahead and reach out to us and tell you that you have an update, that we have a new release, version 11.24. It's going to itemize some of the great new features in our update. And one of the key things you're going to be able to do from this menu is request your new key code. So if you go to your request key code fetch, you will be able to request a valid key code that's in our database for you for version 11.24. And you will need a new key code when you update from version 10.23 to version 11.24. Once you fetch that key code, copied, and save that in a good location, you can then begin the update process by simply selecting the download icon. And then it'll begin downloading the update, and then our update wizard will go ahead and walk you through the process of getting your software updated. Once you get updated, you're then going to want to go ahead and go inside your program, and you will be greeted by a new properties window in 11.24. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And so we'll go inside our newly updated version of Operator 10 version 11.24. The first thing you're going to be greeted with after you install the update software is you're going to be greeted by a database window. So we're going to go ahead and open that window. So this is what you will be greeted by. When your database is selected, you're going to need to do two important things here to complete the update process. You're going to need to go ahead and click Update Key Code. That's where you're going to want to enter that key code that we just previously saved. And then after you've done that and it's updated the key code to your software, you're going to want to go ahead and click here to update your database from version 23 to version 24. So when you click here to update database, you'll notice that our update window will appear, and this is going to update your database with all the new features and the implementation that's going to be required for it to run on our new version of software, version 11.24. Okay, so I'm going to select no for that and go back to our database. Once you've updated, you'll be able to highlight your database. Everything will look correct. You'll have your new key code. You'll be in version 24, and you'll be able to just go ahead and click OK, and then that's going to take you inside the new program. So you'll be greeted by a screen, and you'll see that we have redesigned again the application ribbon here. You're going to see some new icons throughout the program. They're going to perform a lot of the same functions, but they may perform them in a different way. And we're going to go ahead and walk you through some of those new features. So the first thing you'll notice is our file window. So when you click File, you'll now be greeted by a sliding window that will open up on your full screen and display a multitude of information here. By default, it's going to display your application information, which is really useful. If you call in for technical support, a lot of times we'll ask for your account number or license number. You'll see that's at the top. It'll give you your support date when your support expires. It'll also tell who the current user is. It'll let you know the current version you're in the software, what database management software you're using to manage your database. And it'll also tell you where your data is being hosted on a server and what database you're using. Again, you can go to your Open Database window here. So this will take you back to the Open Database window we were just in. One key feature I will point out is we have removed the backup icon from the Tools tab. So now when you want to create a backup of your database, you're going to want to highlight your database, and then access the new tools icon in the database properties window and go ahead and create your database backup from there. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and close out this window. We'll go back here to our file window. You'll also notice in our file window, like before, we still have our security feature here. So this is where you'll access your user security for adding new users to the program and assigning security to those new users. Also, from your file window, you're going to be able to view your options. You'll be able to bring up your manuals for the program, and you'll be able to get some information about the program, which will display your full license key code here, all the features that are implemented for your software, how many seats you have, and some other key information as well. And then lastly, one of the things to keep in mind is that you can also view your log files here from this file menu. Okay, the next thing we're going to go ahead and take a look at is our application ribbon. So I'm going to walk through the new layout and design of the application ribbon, and then we'll start to get into some of the new features that we've implemented inside version 11.24. So our application ribbon starts out with a lot of familiar tabs up here. These are the same names, so dashboard view, setup. If you have a biosolids implementing your software, tools and support, those will seem familiar to many of our users. The icons inside these different sections have changed. You're still going to be able to go to the dashboard tab. From here, you're going to be able to create new dashboards like before. You'll be able to view any current dashboards that you have saved. You'll also be able to go here into your dashboard and be able to add additional data container, gauge container, chart container, and navigation containers like before. You'll be able to add additional pages, so you can start building your pages based on the operational data that you need to organize. And then you'll also have your options menu here, where you'll be able to select a background image like we have here, or you can select an image, a wallpaper if you'd like. You'd be able to customize that image from your options icon right here. You're going to see your page properties menu is going to appear. You'll be able to navigate out to select background images. You'll also be able to determine how that background image is displayed, and you'll be able to select some other features like your hotspot colors for your borders and etc. Again, once you're done making any changes, you'll want to be sure to save those. Okay? Also, if you make additional dashboards for different users, which we encourage you to do, you can select Save As, and you'll be able to name those dashboards like before and be able to save those here under your Views icon. Okay? In our View tab, you're going to see some of the essential features to Operator 10 and Synexus. Here in Operator 10 version 11.24, you have your data view icon here. So this is where you're going to open up your data view section. If you don't choose to navigate to a data view from your dashboard, this will launch. Let me get our recording started back up here. We have had some high winds over here, and apparently it knocked out a major power line. Our auxiliary power flickered for a second, so my computer rebooted. But we're going to go ahead and get restarted here. Keep in mind we're recording these webinars, so we'll edit it. We'll edit the video so everything looks seamless, you know, the power of Photoshop. But we'll get that edited together and everything for you guys. I want to go ahead and go back to where we started. So let me go back in here and I'll create our graph for us again real quick. And we'll go back to our chart type. I was getting ready to give you guys an overview of the different chart types that were available. So let me rebuild this chart, and we'll go ahead and proceed. Great. So here we are. We're back to our chart. We have our charting data here. One thing I'll show you really quickly, going back to the properties menu, since it'll make it a little easier to understand this chart, is we'll go ahead and we'll add a chart title real quick. We'll click add. In the properties menu, I simply click chart titles. You'll be able to add multiple titles, so if you want to add a title as well on your y-axis or your x-axis, you'll be able to do that. But I'm quickly going to just add a chart title here so you guys know what we're looking at as far as data. And then I'm going to also go into my series real quick, so I'll click there, and then you'll see that our location name and parameter name are used up here, but by default charting is going to assign a numeric series value. I can simply override that by typing in actually what I'm looking at. So we can type that in real quick here, and then we'll do that as well for our temperature here. So once I hit finish, it'll implement all those changes. So now in your legend, you'll be able to differentiate what the data line is displaying. And the nice thing about that is it will also display whatever you select as your series name in your crosshair. So you'll see we have temperature here in Celsius, and it's going to give us our value as we go along the trend line for data. The same thing for our flow. So all of that's modified inside the properties. Keep in mind, in our last webinar, we will cover that in a lot more detail. So you'll get a lot more information just on charting. But one of the things I did want to show you in the application ribbon before we went off the grid here at Allmax is our different gallery and chart types. So when you select your gallery here in the application ribbon, you'll be able to modify the display of your chart based on any of these chart types that we have set up in the program. There's a pretty lengthy list. Depending on how you want to display your data, also what kind of data you're displaying will determine what chart type you select. But I'm just going to go ahead and select a couple of these so you can get a feel for them. This is a bar graph, so it's that easy to change from a line graph to a bar graph. It's the same if you want to do a 3D bar graph. You can do that here. You'll be able to modify this out. You also will be able to zoom in if you do a 3D so you can get a better visual representation of the Y of the x-axis there. Also, you'll be able to do a cylinder, so you can do that in 3D. We also have a cone pyramid. This was our 2D line graph that we just went from, and we also have a 3D line graph right here. So you're able to see that. That data can be displayed and modified here inside the section. Also, we have the option to do a pie chart if that would be applicable for your data. You could select that. The pie chart's going to actually break it down into all the different values that are written for the time frame. So keep that in mind as you get more familiar with the charting section. It'll be a lot more intuitive about what type of chart you want to select. And we also have area charts, which are nice. So they sort of populate the space in 3D. We can also just do a 2D, which is nice. So you can display that. Let me go back here to our 2D chart type. Yes. So if you want to display the area, again, with your crosshairs enabled, you'll be able to navigate any of the charts, bar or 3D or a scatter or a line chart, to go ahead and find your data points on the chart. You can also disable this feature by clicking there, and it will turn it off, so you don't have to see those crosshairs if you find them annoying or if they're giving you a headache. I find it useful when trying to trend and find specific data points instead of having to map it across the chart itself along the y-axis. I can just use these crosshairs. So that'll be our gallery type. Now another thing you can do is you can change the appearance of your chart very quickly inside the application ribbon. So this is nice. So if you really want to change the entire just visual style of your chart, you can go to the appearance. We have lots of options here. You can see as you click on them that it can radically change sort of the color style and palette of the chart very quickly. It almost looks like you have a brand new chart, but it's still charting the same data that you selected. You'll also notice specifically when I change my gallery type, it will also, based on predetermined settings, change the way it displays your legend here. So you also have the option from palette here to select different color palettes depending on your preference as you navigate through the different charts. So we've really incorporated all of these great new features because we note that for a lot of our clients it's important to be able to chart their data as well. And also when we cover charting in more detail, we can show you how to create custom calculations and attach those for your charted values as well. Okay, and then also you have reset zoom. So if you zoom in, so if you want to zoom in, if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, it's really nice because you can zoom in just by scrolling that up and scrolling that down. When you're looking at a monthly time horizon, that may not be as pertinent, but as we go maybe to a full 12-month view and you're going over a longer time horizon, being able to navigate in and scroll, and you'll notice that we have the option to scroll over and start to look through our data over that longer time horizon. That can be really helpful. The nice thing with our zoom feature is you can quickly zoom in and out, but you can also click the reset zoom to go back to your default display type. So again, I changed the data range to 12 months is why the chart looks a little different than it did from the monthly display type. But the nice thing is again, when you change your date range, it will automatically start populating the correct information along your x-axis here. And we'll go back to our full month display. You have the ability inside of the charting application ribbon to print out your charts. So you can preview them, you can print them. We also have the ability to copy those as images or as raw data if you want to implement them into maybe another program. You can do that. Also, you're able to export your chart. You can export it as a PDF, as an XLS, as an XLSX, as an image file. So say that you wanted to create a PowerPoint presentation, you would be able to export a customized chart like we have here and create that as a really powerful image in your PowerPoint to display and illustrate your data. You can also export these as any of these other file formats are available in the charting section. And again, we have the arrange feature, so if you have multiple charts open, you could arrange those. The nice thing about that is I can stack charts. So if I open an existing chart here with another series on it or another set of series, I can click OK. It'll open that chart for me, and then I can arrange those and stack those. Again, much like we did inside Data View, if you wanted to create another chart with the same location parameters and compare values from a previous time frame to a more recent time frame, you can do that very quickly with the Create button by simply clicking plus, selecting your chart type, and displaying it. So you'll be able to stack those and review data and see multiple charts that you have open inside our charting section in version 11.24. So other than that, of course, we have our support section here. The other thing I just want to show you quickly is creating an hourly chart. So you can do that just as easily as you do creating a daily chart. We'll select hourly. Again, it's going to display our hourly location parameters that are available for selection in our Allmax grid. We'll select one of those. We'll click OK. And then keep in mind when you're displaying hourly data, if you have breaks in your data, those points aren't going to necessarily show up on a standard line chart. So it's important that you select the right chart type to display your data. You can see I'm recording hourly data, but it's really only being recorded here every 4 hours or so. So you can see those scatter points on my chart. One of the nice charts for this type of data where you're really reporting hourly data, but you're not recording the data on every hour, is you could do something like a bar a bar chart where you would see a better visual representation. And the nice thing when you select that is it will reorient your Y and X axis, so you'll be able to see your time here on the left, and then you'll be able to see your values down here on your X axis. Again, you can use those crosshairs to display those values, but another nice feature and properties, and I'll just show you this really quickly without going into too much detail, is you can create point labels that will actually write your data values inside your chart. So I'm going to go into our point label section inside the properties menu. I'm going to click visible. I'm going to click that for our series. If we had multiple series, we would have to select them from the drop down and select visible. Once I do that, you'll see they'll start to appear here. The nice thing about the chart properties window is it does have a preview window for the changes you're making to your chart, so you get a really good indication of what your chart's going to look like when you click finish, and now you can see that it's written all those values inside our bar chart here because we've added those. Another ability you're going to have inside charting is you're going to be able to create dual panes, which I'm not going to show you how to do that in this webinar, but I'll show you what that looks like. So what that would be is, in this case, what I have is I have an influent and effluent for our solids. So for our BOD5, our TSS, and our TVSS, I have at the top what our influent values are for those solids. And then at the bottom, what I've created in one chart is a separate pane that will show me the effluent values for those solids. So you can see the dramatic difference, which you should be seeing, obviously, in the chart. But you'll be able to create all kinds of different types of charts inside Operator 10 version 11.24. I just wanted to give you a preview of what a dual pane chart looks like. The last thing I want to cover inside the program is our Setup tab. So I want to go over to our Setup tab. That's going to take us into the application ribbon for our setup data. And one of the important new features that we've implemented inside version 11.24 is the ability to add and set up your data much more quickly than before. So you remember we talked about our location parameter setup icon being changed. I want to go into our location parameters, and then I want to show you how quickly you can add new locations and parameters inside the program. So when we launch our location parameter icon, it's going to bring up a list of our existing location parameters. From here, just like before inside the program, you can use the application utility toolbar above the Allmax grid to go in, select specific or in some cases multiple location parameters, and you'll be able to edit those location parameters based on any of the fields that aren't grayed out. Those are available for edit and modification. Again, we have the ability to print. Also, you have the ability to export. This grid is a CSV file. If you wanted to export and have a view of this data into an Excel style formatted file, you can do that. We have our refresh icon. We have our grouping icon. So if you wanted to group your location parameters by parameter, like before, if it's easier for you to find your data that way, we make that available to you. You also have your utility icon where you'll be able to go back to your default grid layout and also show and hide columns. So this will show you all the column headers that are available. We can select the grouping icon and it will turn that off for us. But one of the most powerful features in the location parameter setup menu is the ability to add location parameters now. So when I click that plus button, I'm going to be greeted by an entirely new screen for Operator 10 and Synexus, and that's going to be our Add New Location Parameter window. From this window, you're going to be able to do a lot of things when creating new data inside the program. One of the first things I want to illustrate is the ability to copy parameters from an existing location. So say that you needed to create another influent location, maybe for an industry, or you need to create a new effluent location, whatever have you, you can select an existing location. So we'll go ahead and look at our plant effluent location here. We'll go ahead and click OK on that. And what it will do is it will populate in our parameter box at the bottom of this window all the location parameters that have been set up and created in the program for that existing location. If we wanted to create a brand new location with these same exact parameters, all we would have to do is rename our location up here to the new location. So if we put in 4, you're going to notice that exclamation point will go away. What that exclamation point is telling you is you can't have duplicate location names inside the program. So if you want to create a new location, it's going to have a unique name. It cannot duplicate the name of an existing location. Once you've redefined your location name, you could simply click Save, and it will create not only your new location, but it will assign all of these existing location parameters. It will write those to the new location. Now, of course, it's writing the existing parameters from the previous location. It's not going to move over any of the data, but it's going to copy over these parameters to your new location. So that's super helpful if you're creating locations, multiple locations for different facilities that are going to have a lot of the same location parameters. One of the nice things from the location parameter screen here when you're adding new locations and parameters is the ability to modify the parameters that you add down here in the parameter box. And I'm going to show you that. So for example, we would be able to add additional parameters. So we just copied over all these locations from a previous location parameter. We can go ahead and add additional location parameters. So if I was missing some location parameters here, I can go out into the parameter list, I can highlight those, click OK, and it'll start to build those in my parameter list. If I have a parameter in here that I don't particularly want for a location, I can highlight that and click delete, and it'll delete that. Once I've determined all the parameters I want to set up for my new location, all I have to do is click Save, and the program is going to do the rest for us. It's going to tell you that it's created 15 new LP combinations. And you'll notice down here at the bottom, it will have a green check mark with the word success indicating that it has successfully created all of these. So once I've done that, I can exit out of here. It's going to refresh my grid. And as I start to filter now, I will be able to navigate down here, and now I can see where all those new location parameters have been created inside our LP setup icon. So it's really that fast. You can create hundreds of new parameters and multiple new locations in a matter of minutes now inside Operator 10 or Synexus version 11.24. It works the same if you just want to add locations as well. We can go to Locations, we'll click Add, and you're going to be able to go ahead and just populate a location name and select a description if you'd like, and then any facility name. So you could type in your location here. You can also, let me close this out, you can also go back to the LP location window, hit the plus button, and instead of adding a location with parameters, you could just type in a new location. So if I just wanted to create the location plant stream inside the program, as long as that's not an existing location, I would be able to navigate down here, select my facility, and then go ahead and save that, and it will create that new location. It will tell me that it just created that new location for me inside the program. Now, I don't currently have any parameters attached to that location. I could go in and start building parameters for that location, but you are going to be able now to create locations and parameters much more quickly inside version 11.24 when you're setting up all of your data inside the program. Okay, so that's going to wrap up most of the new features that we're going to be looking at for 11.24 in this particular webinar. The last thing I did want to show you is you will have the ability to navigate out to our website, and you'll be able to go ahead and look at our newsletter. So if you want to get new information about what we're coming out with, every week we're creating new tech tip videos as well. So I invite you to navigate out to allmaxsoftware.com, go to our news, subscribe to our newsletter. You'll click here, you'll be able to sign up. It'll give you all the new information we have upcoming, any new webinar series, any new tech tips that we put out. Also keep in mind that we now have our own YouTube channel. So when you go out to YouTube, all you have to do is type in the search bar for Allmax Software, and it's going to take you to our YouTube page. So we'll go ahead and click on that, and you'll see that we have lots of new tech videos out on our YouTube page, which are available for free. We are releasing tech tips every week. That comparison slide I showed you in the beginning of the webinar, we actually have a comparison video out there that will walk you through a side-by-side comparison. We have tech tips on fetching your key code and how to back up your data before you update. So it'll show you everything I showed you in the beginning of the webinar. We also have other useful tech tips out there for producing reports, for emailing work orders, for fetching your key code and backing up, and for setting up user security as well. I invite everyone to go out to our YouTube channel and look at all the available YouTube videos we have out there. These are really short videos. Most of them are usually only like 3, 4, 5 minutes. They're just brief videos to give you a quick tech tip on how to perform different features inside the program. So that's going to conclude our webinar series, our first webinar. Our next webinar, as you can see, is going to be next Wednesday, March 15th at 2 p.m. And we'll be covering the Report Center in a good bit of detail. I didn't get to go over that very much in this webinar because I really wanted to show some of the quick create options that are available in setting up your location parameters, data views, and charts. But the next webinar will really be focused on our Report Center, and then our third webinar will be focused on producing your reports, the options available now inside the Reporting Center when producing your reports, and how to make modifications to your report properties. And then our last webinar will go into detail about charts. So we'll do a thorough walkthrough of all the properties and features that are available in our charting section. Okay, my name is Shane here at Allmax Software in the tech department. Again, I apologize for the power disruption. We will be sure to edit the video and make sure that we get you a fluid video of this webinar. I will go ahead and leave this open for a few minutes. Feel free to ask questions. We still have BJ and Ryan on standby to answer any of your questions that you might have. And then other than that, I will talk to you next Wednesday. Thank you.